James, and as James mentioned earlier on today, APS 2016, hashtag APS 2016 is now trending in Berlin. So testament to this room and how engaged the mobile marketing community is in Berlin and is in Germany. Also a prize for the best tweeter of my presentation. I will send you a personalized bag of Twitter swag. So keep tweeting and let's make sure that APS 2016 continues to trend. So as James mentioned, my name is Ross. I run Twitter's business, both our programmatic business and our on-platform business across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. We work with some of the world's largest app marketers, and my team specifically manages all of those partnerships globally. Today, I want to talk a little bit about what makes Twitter unique from an audience perspective. So I'll talk about our audience and how that audience is developing the behavioral insights, trends, and patterns into those users, so how they're good actors beyond the install. We'll also talk about the power of Twitter and TV for app marketers. So a burgeoning trend that everybody in this room is seeing is app marketers using using TV as a direct response solution to drive installs and maximize TRPs and GRPs. With Twitter, we've also built solutions for that. And I'll touch on our new technology stack and some key takeaways. But as you can see in front of you, there are 4 parts to our audience. The very core is our user base inside the Twitter app, where we have 320 million monthly active users. The second is our logged out user base, where we have 500 million users. The third is what we call Twitter Audience Platform, which is built on top of MoPub. And that has access to another additive billion users. And the fourth circle that you see in front of you is Fabric, which is now installed in over 1 billion smartphones. So you have a very large footprint, not only across the media landscape, but also across the SDK landscape, which you see here. You've seen some fantastic presentations today that are very data-oriented and marketing optimization-oriented. I'm going to talk a little bit about cause and effect. And what I mean by cause and effect is how there is a special relationship with users in Twitter, where they come to Twitter to discover new apps, become super users of new apps, share those apps and talk about them. So I'm going to give you 3 specific examples, one from Supercell, the second from Miniclip, and the third from Next Games, and show you how these marketers are using Twitter TV solutions and how effective it is for them. So have a look at this creative. We have audio, I believe.
I don't know you, Big Buffet Boy 85, but if you think you can humiliate me and take my gold, think again. Oh, I'm coming for you with lots of barbarians and dragons. I can't wait to destroy your village while you beg for mercy, but you will get no mercy. I will have my revenge.
Liam? I was going for Liam?
Over here. It's, Liam. You will regret the day you crossed Angry Neeson 52.
Angry Neeson 52.
So fantastic TV creative, one of my personal favorites of all time. But what was very unique about that specific TV creative was the cause and effect relationship, the aftermath of that TV creative on Twitter, where in the space of 24 hours, there's 250,000 tweets and 26 million impressions of Clash of Clans related content on our platform. And it's important to see this not only as a game-specific lift, but a category-specific lift, because that relationship brings about a social footprint and numerous data signals where marketers and everybody in this room can use it to strong effect, both for their own apps and for their client apps. The next example that I'll show you in one moment is from Agar.io and House of Cards, and how there was a similar lift. But before I do that, I want to talk about how we believe that conversation does not happen in a vacuum. It equates to installs. We see a very clear and corollary relationship and synergies between what happens inside of Twitter and what happens outside of Twitter. So the blue trend line is App Annie data extrapolated over the same time frame for exact install data. The lighter blue trend line is Twitter conversation data over the same time frame. And you can see that the dips and spikes mirror each other as conversation increases, install volume outside of Twitter also increases. And it's not just for household brands like Periscope or Runtastic or Candy Crush Soda Saga. We see this for many, many different apps outside of the top 100 grossing apps in the App Store. The perfect use case for how marketers can tap into that is the beauty of Twitter, the real-time nature of our platform, where it's about reaching the right user at the right moment at the right time. Are there any Walking Dead fans in this room today? Show of hands. So a good few. Were you as traumatized by the episode recently, a few weeks ago, as I was? A very interesting episode. What you're about to see is a clip from the TV program and the aftermath of Twitter over that time frame, and also what this marketer did to reach those users in a very interesting way.
Michonne,
Yeah?
back when you were in that place where I live, did you take one of my protein bars?
So, post-apocalyptic universe, nobody has any foods. Gone are the days of McDonald's protein bars become in swift demand very, very quickly. And what Next Games and numerous other marketers, whether you're inside the games category or outside the games category, use keyword targeting and all of Twitter's targeting solutions to reach that user in that moment at the right time in a contextually and native relevant way. The last example before I move into a little more detail on the behavioral insights we're seeing more recently on our platform is from Agar.io and an episode of House of Cards. Perhaps they were telling the future of the recent presidential elections when they aired this episode, but what you'll see afterwards is similar behavior between users and apps on Twitter.
Do you play video games?
No, my kids do. There's this one game that my son Charlie, he loves to play. It's called Agar.io. I have to admit, I might have played it a couple of times myself. You start out as a little dot, and then you go around eating these other dots, and you get bigger. The bigger you get, you got to avoid getting eaten by the bigger players. Meanwhile, you're trying to eat the smaller players.
Sounds a little like running for president.
So perhaps a precursor to the most recent cultural elections that we've seen across the globe. And what you see in front of you is the real-time lift in mentions of Agar.io and other games on the Twitter platform. We see this when those episodes drop, but we also see them consistently. It's not about linear and binary TV anymore. We see those reflected in TV on demand as well. So to move on to how our users behave and why that's relevant for you as a marketer, we as a business fully believe that it rests on content, where good content travels further. 52% of Twitter users will talk about apps they like with their friends and family. We can also see those users discover apps on Twitter very regularly. 30% of our users have discovered an app in the last 7 days. 25% of those users will also share those apps with loved ones, whether that's through Twitter solutions or other integrated sharing solutions. We also see those users do more and buy more. When we indexed our entire user base on Twitter, we saw that 58% of our user base had installed an app in the last 4 weeks. That's the average number. It increases exponentially to 60-65% when we look at categories like gaming or travel. We also see that they're high engagers. 36% of Twitter users have apps on their phone that they've paid for, and 27% of those users pay for in-app purchases. The reason why I showed you those TV examples earlier is that we see Twitter and TV users to be those users you need in your app. You heard the previous speaker talk about cherries with chocolate on top of them. Twitter and TV users are akin to those as well. Super users, good actors with high session depth and high intent behind them. We can also see that they index exponentially more for purchasing behavior. If you look at their propensity to purchase as compared to the average smartphone user or TV user, it's very, very high as well. In the last 4 weeks alone, this number fluctuates between 60 and 70 typically. Twitter and TV users in the UK in one single market from an export perspective have invested almost $70 million on apps and on in-app purchases. We also provide solutions across the entire ecosystem. A great perspective from the CPO of Dubsmash this morning was around virality and how virality is engineered. It does not happen by chance. If you look at some of the greatest apps in the last 2 or 3 years, Dubsmash and numerous gaming apps that have reached virality, it is engineered. It's important to think about that engineering and how you're creating that K factor and virality over time frame. I do not have time to spend with you guys today in this presentation on that, but happy to have a chat directly after. We have built a solution inside Fabric, or a mobile modular SDK called the Twitter Kit, that enables you to build games on top of the Twitter platform and open up a new channel to market for virality. I also want to touch on our technology stack that we believe is differentiated in the ecosystem across other partners who have their owned and operated inventory, and across DSPs. If you look at Twitter for one moment and how the technology stack has developed in recent years, it represents all of the greatest and strongest parts of our ecosystem, from Twitter to MoPub to TapCommerce to numerous other businesses that we've acquired over that time frame. What you see in front of you is the buying flow, where we now project first-party data onto our exchange in order to augment the bid stream, reduce the signal to noise ratio, and attract high value users, high quality users for your apps, whether that's on Twitter or off Twitter. We've also built a creative rendering engine where you can easily syndicate all of your campaigns and creatives to Twitter Audience Platform in one click. So there's a layer of intelligence, a creative rendering engine that boosts your return on effort as a marketer and gives you and your teams more and more time back. You would have also heard the quote from one of the talks this morning on how acquisition without a retention strategy is stupid. And that speaker was correct. Acquisition builds a user base, but retention builds a business, and retention monetizes businesses. Generally, if you look at every category in the App Store, you'll see that 85% of users are walking away after a period of 7 to 14 days. So it's important to be aware of that leaky bucket. And it's not a testament to your product, it's the behavior of users across most apps in the App Store. We're very conscious of that as a business and wanted to build solutions that focus on retention and easily place retention into your marketing stack. That's also reflected in Twitter Audience Platform, where we surface app insights. You have the ability to use tailored audiences and reach high value users across your treasure chest of data, both on and off Twitter, plugging those data assets directly into Twitter, and it works in the very, very same way. So I want to talk a little bit about what's new for us as a business. And generally, we're focusing on 2 themes from a product perspective. I'm going to flick on because there's interesting audio there. And that theme, which is the #1 theme for us, is focused on ROAS and lifetime value. So ROAS and lifetime value is reflected in everything we do as a product team, from the creative experience through to bidding models. So we're introducing bidding models that focus beyond the install, deeper funnel events. We've also introduced video on our owned and operated platform. We will shortly release rewarded and incentivized video on Twitter Audience Platform, and native was released a number of weeks ago as well. All of these have boosted ROAS, LTV, and retention across the board for marketers across every category in the App Store for us. A large trend for everybody in this room is also creator marketing and influencer marketing. It's important now to think about your marketing mix as a marketer and understand how you can complement auction-based platforms and auction-based channels, which is what Niche represents for Twitter. So Niche is a business that we acquired about 12 to 18 months ago. We have the world's largest reach in the creator ecosystem. We nurtured and developed a lot of the creator and influencer talents over the last 6 years. So very, very close relationships with all of those individuals. And the beauty of Niche is that it's a real-time programmatic platform as well. So you have the ability to engage and interface with creators and influencers, approve their work, disapprove their work, and then enter into a contract with them. It's also cross-platform, so we run campaigns not only on Twitter, but on Snapchat, Google, Facebook, Tumblr, and multiple other social properties. I'm going to show you 2 interesting creatives before I bring you to key takeaways that illustrates the creativity and the innovativeness across this base and pool of creators.
I love scary movies. Sorry.
It's a really simple execution. Rydune is one of the largest follower base across Twitter and other social platforms.
Oh, guys, game's already on. Let's throw it on the big screen. Andrew, help me make some popcorn. Sure.
Fun fact, that was filmed in one of the apartments of a Twitter person whilst his wife was out. A couple of weeks later, they discovered a mound of popcorn underneath the sofa and underneath the couch, which didn't react to too well, but fantastic creative. And looking forward then, folks, to some key takeaways. And if there's a couple of things you'll take from my presentation today, they're reflected on this slide. The first is that Twitter is the home of app conversation. It's a very, very unique relationship that our platform has with its users, where we see on average 2 billion mentions on the Twitter platform every day, and high frequency of app conversations inside that 2 billion. Over the last 12 months alone, there's been 500 million mentions of the top 20 apps on Twitter platform. And you as a marketer can easily use all of Twitter's targeting solutions, but TV solutions especially, to drive higher LTV and drive higher ROAS. The second is virality, distribution, K-factor, many different names for how you can open up distribution in an organic way. You can do that through building on top of our SDK, particularly the Twitter Kit that creates that virality we've seen from many, many different partners. The third is that we have unique first-party data that positions our off-platform solution in a very, very unique way. We know who our users follow, what they're interested in, what apps they've installed, what kind of content they consume, where they're located, male, female, who follows them. It presents a very, very intricate and powerful blanket of first-party data for multiple use cases with user acquisition and re-engagement. And the final key takeaway for you is around native and video. We're seeing the strongest adoption of native and video in our partners' media mix and marketing mix out of every single solution. That's because the entire market is moving there. It's important for you to have first mover, second mover advantage even in this space to future-proof your business and development of your app over time. Thanks so much, folks, for your time today. I really do appreciate it. We also have a mixer at 6 p.m. this evening, so look forward to having a drink, a beer, and a chat with all of you there. Thanks.